Welcome to another inspiring story that will not only improve your English, but also fill you with motivation. Today, we're going to explore the life of one of the most brilliant minds in history, Thomas Edison. You may know him as the man who invented the light bulb, but his story is much more than that. It's a story of failure, curiosity, hard work, and never giving up. As you listen, try to focus on the new vocabulary and expressions I'll introduce throughout the story. This isn't just about learning English. It's about discovering how someone with no special background, no formal education, and many obstacles managed to change the world forever. So grab a notebook, find a quiet place, and open your ears and heart. Let's begin this journey together, one that will help you grow your English listening skills, learn useful new words, and get inspired by the life of a true inventor, Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was born on February 11, 1847, in a small town called Milan in the state of Ohio, USA. He was the seventh and youngest child in his family. His father, Samuel Edison, was a hardworking man who tried many different jobs, while his mother, Nancy Edison, had once been a school teacher. It was Nancy who would have the greatest impact on young Thomas's early life. From a young age, Thomas was curious about everything. He constantly asked questions and loved to explore the world around him. But his teachers didn't see his curiosity as a gift. Instead, they thought he was a troublemaker who couldn't sit still. Back then, schools were strict, and children were expected to memorize facts and follow rules. Thomas didn't fit into that system. He only attended formal school for a few months before his teacher told his mother that he had a slow mind and couldn't learn. Rather than accept this, Nancy decided to teach Thomas at home. She believed in him completely. Under her guidance, Thomas flourished. She let him read books, do small experiments, and learn at his own pace. Thomas later said that his mother's belief in him was the foundation of his success. Although Thomas had a hearing problem that would grow worse over time, he didn't let it stop him. In fact, some believe his partial deafness helped him concentrate better because he wasn't distracted by the noise around him. He was always building things, taking apart objects to see how they worked, and making small inventions in the family's basement. One of his favorite books as a child was The School of Natural Philosophy, which explained scientific principles in simple terms. It opened a new world to him, one of discovery, possibility, and invention. While other children were playing games, Thomas was reading science books and dreaming of how he could make life better with new ideas. His early years were not easy, but they planted the seeds of creativity, independence, and determination. These qualities, nurtured by his mother's love and trust, would later help him change the world forever. Thomas Edison's love for learning didn't come from school. It came from the world around him, from books, experiments, and his unstoppable curiosity. After leaving formal education, he continued learning on his own. His home became his classroom, and every question became a lesson. He spent countless hours reading books borrowed from libraries and experimenting with anything he could find. His mother supported his curiosity completely, never stopping him from asking questions or trying new things. She encouraged his interests, no matter how strange they seemed to others. When Thomas was only 12 years old, he took a job selling newspapers and candy on a train that traveled between cities. It wasn't just a job to him, it was another chance to explore. He set up a small laboratory inside one of the train cars and began doing chemistry experiments while traveling. He even published a small newspaper of his own using a printing press he placed on the train. His creativity had no limits. He used every opportunity to learn something new or build something original. People who knew him were amazed by his energy and passion. While others saw a train as just a way to travel, Edison saw it as a moving workshop. Even though he had very little formal education, Thomas became one of the most well-read young men of his time. He devoured books on science, mechanics, and invention. He believed that real education came not from memorizing facts, but from understanding how things worked and using that knowledge to solve problems. He once said, "My main schooling was done by myself, at home and in the world. During these years, his hearing loss became worse. He began to lose most of his ability to hear, but instead of feeling sorry for himself, he used it as an advantage. He said that silence helped him concentrate better and think more deeply. His condition never slowed him down. In fact, it seemed to push him even harder. He refused to let any difficulty become an excuse.
By the time Thomas Edison was in his late teens, he had already taught himself more than most students learned in school. He had become a self-made scientist, engineer, and thinker. He didn't need anyone's approval. His curiosity was enough. These early experiences shaped his belief that learning never ends, and that failure is just part of the process. They also marked the beginning of a lifetime dedicated to innovation and change. As Thomas Edison entered adulthood, his passion for invention only grew stronger. He was full of ideas and never stopped experimenting. In his early 20s, he moved to New York City with almost no money in his pocket. He worked long hours and often slept in his workshop. It wasn't an easy life, but Edison didn't mind. He believed that hard work was the key to success. Soon, his first big breakthrough came. He invented an improved stock ticker machine, which helped keep track of stock prices more efficiently. A company bought the rights to his invention and paid him a large sum of money. For the first time, Edison had the resources to set up his own laboratory, and he wasted no time doing it. In 1876, Edison opened his famous laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey. This wasn't just a personal workspace, it was one of the world's first research and development centers. He hired a team of assistants and worked with them to turn ideas into inventions. They worked day and night, sometimes testing hundreds of materials and designs just to make one thing better. Edison believed in trial and error. He once said, "I haven't failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." To him, failure wasn't the end, it was a step forward. One of his greatest challenges was inventing a practical and long-lasting electric light bulb. Other inventors had tried, but their bulbs burned out quickly or were too expensive to produce. Edison was determined to find the right material for the filament, the part of the bulb that glows. He and his team tested thousands of different substances: cotton, bamboo, even hair. After many months of testing, they discovered a carbonized bamboo filament that could last over 1,200 hours. In 1879, Edison successfully demonstrated his light bulb to the public. People were amazed. For the first time, darkness could be pushed away by the flip of a switch. But Edison didn't stop with the bulb. He knew that a light bulb was useless without a way to power it. So he invented the entire electrical system: generators, switches, fuses, and even the wiring needed to bring electricity into homes. His work laid the foundation for the modern electric grid. Cities around the world would soon be lit by his ideas. Edison's breakthroughs changed everyday life in ways people had never imagined. Homes became brighter and safer, factories could work longer hours, streets could be lit at night. All of this came from the mind of a man who never stopped trying. His inventions weren't just about technology, they were about making life better for everyone. And through every obstacle, every failure, and every long night, Thomas Edison showed that with enough effort and imagination, even the impossible can become reality. Thomas Edison was not just an inventor, he was a thinker with a unique philosophy about life, success, and learning. He believed that genius was not about being born smart, but about working hard. One of his most famous quotes was, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." To him, ideas were important, but effort and determination mattered even more. Edison worked long hours, sometimes up to 20 hours a day. He often said that he loved what he did so much that it didn't feel like work at all. His workshop was a place of energy, curiosity, and constant motion. Edison didn't mind failure. In fact, he expected it. He believed that every failed experiment brought him one step closer to success. Instead of feeling disappointed, he saw each mistake as a lesson. This mindset helped him keep going, even when others would have given up. He taught his team never to be afraid of getting things wrong, because that was how progress happened. He once said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time." This attitude made him unstoppable. As a person, Edison was known for his simplicity. He didn't care much for luxury or appearances. He wore plain clothes, didn't follow fashion, and often forgot to comb his hair. What mattered to him was ideas, not image. He was direct and honest, sometimes even stubborn, but always focused on his goals. He had little patience for small talk or social events. Most of the time, he preferred being in his lab, surrounded by machines, tools, and notebooks full of drawings and formulas. Despite his serious nature, Edison also had a sense of humor. He enjoyed surprising people with his inventions, and often made jokes about his own failures.
He believed that learning should be exciting and not boring. He wanted young people to be curious, to take things apart, to explore how the world worked. He believed that imagination was just as important as logic. To invent, he once said, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. Edison's philosophy shaped not only his own success, but also the way future generations would think about innovation. He showed that greatness comes not from talent alone, but from passion, persistence, and a willingness to keep going, no matter how hard the path may be. As Thomas Edison grew older, his passion for invention never faded. In fact, the more he achieved, the more he wanted to explore. After the success of the light bulb, Edison continued to innovate in many different fields. He developed new technologies for sound recording, motion pictures, batteries, and even concrete. He believed that no invention was ever complete, that everything could always be improved. His laboratories became places of constant experimentation, where new ideas were tested every single day. In the 1880s, Edison founded the Edison Electric Light Company, which later became General Electric, one of the most powerful companies in the world. Through this, he helped bring electric power into homes, businesses, and entire cities. Streets that were once dark at night now shone with light. Factories ran longer hours, and life became more comfortable for millions of people. Edison didn't just invent devices, he transformed how people lived. But not all of his ideas were successful. He faced competition from other inventors and business rivals, especially during the famous War of Currents with Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse. Edison supported direct current, or DC, electricity, while Tesla promoted alternating current, AC, which eventually became the standard. Although Edison's approach didn't win that battle, he never stopped pushing forward. He continued inventing, always focused on what came next. In his later years, Edison became a national hero. He was admired not just in the United States, but around the world. Presidents, scientists, and schoolchildren all looked up to him. Despite his fame, Edison remained humble and hardworking. He preferred being in his lab over giving speeches or attending public events. He was most comfortable surrounded by wires, tools, and notebooks filled with ideas. As he aged, Edison's health slowly declined, but his spirit remained strong. Even in his 70s, he worked on new projects, including improving storage batteries and finding alternative sources of rubber. He believed that there was always something more to learn, something more to do. In 1931, at the age of 84, Thomas Edison passed away in New Jersey. His final days were spent in the company of family and close friends. People across the country dimmed their lights for 1 minute in his honor, a quiet tribute to the man who had brought light into their lives. Today, Edison's legacy lives on, not only in his thousands of inventions, but in the way he changed the world. His story reminds us that greatness doesn't come from luck or genius alone, but from effort, courage, and the refusal to give up. He taught us that even if the road is long and full of failure, dreams can still become reality if you are brave enough to keep trying. Thomas Edison's life is more than a story about inventions. It's a powerful reminder of what can happen when a person refuses to give up. He faced rejection, criticism, and failure countless times, but none of these things stopped him. He was not born into wealth or privilege. He didn't attend elite schools. He lost much of his hearing at an early age. Yet through determination, endless curiosity, and a deep love for learning, he changed the world in ways no one could have imagined. Edison once said, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." His life proves that success is not always about intelligence or luck. It's about perseverance. He showed us that even when the world doubts you, you can still believe in yourself. That even when your ideas don't work the first time or the 100th time, you can still try again. His story also teaches us that learning never really ends. Edison read constantly, experimented daily, and always searched for new solutions. He believed in action more than theory, in trying more than talking. He didn't wait for the perfect moment. He created it by working harder than anyone else. For English learners, his journey offers more than just inspiration. It reminds us that progress comes step by step. Maybe you don't understand every word today. Maybe you struggle with grammar or feel nervous when you speak. But if you keep going, if you stay curious, if you keep practicing, one day you'll look back and realize how far you've come.
So let Thomas Edison's life be your reminder. Every failure is a lesson. Every challenge is a chance. And every small step brings you closer to your goal. Keep learning, keep dreaming, and never stop trying. The light that changed the world came from someone who simply refused to quit, and so can you.